Welcome back, Game Changers, people that are up to something, or for those that have not been following the channel or subscribed. I'm your host, Chad Everett Broshears, and this is the Maturity Project. Welcome. This channel is dedicated to helping give insights that can help you shift your life into something significant, something wonderful. So it's give you the power to live your life again, or to live a life that's different than what you feel like you're convicted to. So that's the Maturity Project. This channel is based on 8 different areas of maturity that we have the ability to develop, but no one seems to have told us directly. I'm here to do it. So let's go. All right, 8 areas. Physical body, your community. So physical body is 1, community 2, intelligence or cognitive, this is 3. 4 is emotion. 5 is finance, 6 is business, 7 is sexuality, and 8 is spirituality or purpose. So 8 different areas of maturity. You can develop in any one of them. If you have any one of those areas neglected or not being developed, you will find that there are stressors that come with that causes upset and frustration in life, and you'll learn how to patch it in and figure out how to just tolerate that and wonder how other people can get further than you have in that particular area. Often, hell, you don't even know that that's the area. You just see that they've gotten further in life and you think they're special. There's something gifted about them. Yeah, a lot of it is life has given them the opportunities to develop in specific places that make them more successful at life. Simple, right? Anyway, today's conversation is on making life happen. All right, a lot of us, so life's happening. All right, let's just clarify that. It's happening already. It's right now. It's going on. You are likely not satisfied in some areas of what's going on in life, and you're likely also taking some action to make change in that area, and it's probably categorical. So you're like, you figure out where it is. I want to be better. And so instead of finance, it's savings. Savings is part of the finance area of maturity. So you may be focused on that. You're doing something, you're living, you're making things work. It's just people like to say, I can't wait to really start living. I can't wait until X, right? Which means that's when they're going to be more enlivened. That's when they're going to really step out and really feel the excitement of life. We don't need to go that route, really. We already are. So first off, okay, what you're doing already is living. The thing is that you probably have a fantasy for growth, but without actually having structure and strategy, it will likely remain a fantasy until you finally get tired of abusing yourself with it, and then you'll just let it go. I used to want to do that. Let's figure out a way to actually make these things more real. First off, you don't have to wait to start living. You already are. But if you want to start living with more passion and more progression and more direction for something other than what you've already had in life, well, let's look at what it's going to take, right? Part of the fear of going that route is, what if you take a particular step that sets you back from where you currently are, that might actually cause you harm in a way that you may never recover from? That's a fear that we put into taking action and making change and stepping out of the norm and getting into something that's outside of that. So here we are, waiting for the opportunity for somebody else to line things up, for us to do something, for us to take action, for us to do our life. You don't have to. So it's a weird thing that we do, but do something now. It's every morning, if you're waking up into a routine, how suitable is that routine for your next step, what you want to accomplish? I don't know anybody that does not want to grow somewhere. What are you doing to interrupt the pattern that is established where you currently are? So no matter what, wherever you are right now, there is a pattern that established it, that you're there because of your behaviors in life. You got yourself there. It's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing. It's a recognize it. Once you recognize it, hell, we can start doing stuff to make some changes. Lots of changes that we can make along the way. It's just, let's make them strategic. Let's make them where you are less likely to have hardship and more likely to reap the benefits and rewards. We also need to start actually talking about what specifically are benefits and rewards of actions As where some people see the cost and they focus on the cost, they don't realize that cost is part of the reward. They're just like, oh, it was hard to do that. Guess what happens whenever you have something that's hard? Value by contrast. That hard turns into something that you say, hey, I worked my ass off for that thing, and you cherish it. You have ownership over it. You will not let that go to anything other than the benefit of the work you put in, if you understand it that way. But other people be like, yeah, it's just hard work. And then they're like, I don't know if I want to keep doing that. They look at hard work as punishment, as something that really was not necessary. That's not the case. Whatever it is you want to change, doesn't matter. It's the effort that it takes to date in a way that you actually are finding. You are more geared towards finding the person that you want to spend a portion of your life with, like a noteworthy portion of your life, even if it's the rest of it, if you are demonstrating the person that you want to date. You be the person that you want to date. If it's being financially successful, well, frame your mind around that. Where are you right now if you want to become more financially successful? When was the last contract that you put in place that requires that you pay something on a specific timeline? It's not to be afraid to spend money. It's to be aware of where you're currently putting your money and how much you're committing to the future for what you're currently making. Because we all would like to think we're going to make more money tomorrow because the way we build in price of living changes and our cost of living changes. How we factor in a lot of things, raises for performance, possible promotion, stuff like that. The reality is, though, you can't count any of it until it's real. It doesn't matter if you're told you're going to get a promotion. It doesn't matter until it happens. So you have to function off what you have right now. Finance is the area you want to talk about. Let's look at a lot of the things, right? If you go to sit down to buy a car, your car is perfectly fine. It gets you point A to point B. There's no real mechanical issues, nothing like that. It's just one of those, it'd be nice to have something new. I'd like to treat myself. I've been working hard. Those kind of things that get us to convince ourselves into buying something or getting into a contract that's going to have long-term payment schedules. And even then, if you're going to say long-term, what's long-term? Well, let's just say long-term's 3 to 6 or even 7 years. Auto loans up to 7 years now. So be aware, what that's going to be, and if it really does work for you, because you got to really qualify the longer picture of it, the big thing, which is 7 years worth of this behavior, 7 years worth of me paying for this vehicle. Is it really worth it whenever the other one works perfectly fine? No. So it's looking at finance from that. It's not just saying, hey, I want to save money. Well, save money means you look at the spigot for where the money's going out. It's financial maturity. I know this is all simple. I know that this is stuff that most people are like, well, duh, Chad. Here's the thing. Simple and well, duh, doesn't mean there's ever action behind it. Just because you know it doesn't mean you've done anything with it. There's a thing called trivial knowledge. Trivial knowledge has no application in life until you make it applicable, then it's no longer trivial. Now it's applicable knowledge. People have all kinds of that stuff because they learn great things and they do nothing with it. So making change now, what do you want? If your big goal is to live in Costa Rica, own your own piece of property, and have a business that makes more money than the cost of living requires for that, so you have money constantly going into the account, you're making, you're just constantly enriching yourself on a month-to-month basis, okay, great. That's the goal, okay? Costa Rica is one of the goals. We're going to put that thing up there, and we'll do what they do, like with vision boards, except we're putting structure and action behind it. We're not just going to say, I envision this, I'd like this. You're going to use some of that because that emotionally helps prime you for the actions necessary to get there. Then we have to treat it like the whole weight loss thing. You don't keep getting on the scale every day to see if you're losing weight. That puts too much emotional burden on most people, and it makes them want to quit because they don't see the change they think they should see. So we go into a 1 month at a time qualifier. Next month on this time, at this time of day. So, whenever it is that you were measured last, best time to weigh yourself also, by the way, is the first thing in the morning after you go to the bathroom. That's the best time to weigh yourself because it's consistent instead of having all kinds of stuff in your digestive tract and, whatever. It stays the most consistent. So first thing in the morning after you go to the bathroom, that's when you're going to weigh yourself once a month. Same concept when it comes to progress on anything that you want to do. So if we want to create a vision board value for getting the house in Costa Rica and having a business that is independent and profitable, and it more than suffices for your lifestyle. And we need to talk about exactly what all that is, right? We need to create definition to everything. So definition to everything. We're going to create clarity because we're going to be able to define what we're looking for. If you don't have clarity, you're not going to go far. So we've already started with clarity on this hypothetical. Costa Rica, business is making money. You're making more and you got more going in the savings than you do that's going out to pay your expenses, stuff like that. So you're doing pretty good. You're living in paradise. You got all that stuff, right? All right, well, first off, what business is it that you're running? Well, we got to look at what's going to finance you to get there. What are you currently running? If you have nothing, okay, that's fine. You're working for somebody. Are you going to branch out and do your own thing, or are you going to try to take the remote route where you can still work for this company? And does this company pay you enough to pay for that lifestyle currently? If not, is there an access point through the company you work for that you could work on getting promoted into that would give you that luxury if you're going to work for another company? Here's the things that I'm always cautioning people about working for others. You don't know what decisions the executives or the board members are making behind the scenes that can affect your long-term livelihood. You may be a remote worker. You may need, let's say, $80,000 a year. After you made all the investments and everything, you moved to Costa Rica and you got $80,000 going in, but you work remote, and everything's good, right? You got enough money. If that's the case, right? 120, whatever, you pick the number. I'm just going to use 80 because it's a low bar for that type of thing, So you got that kind of money, you've got your property, all of this, and then you find out the company's selling. Then what? You don't know what the restructure, if they're going to allow for remote workers. You don't know if they're going to change your pay scale, if they're going to give you additional responsibilities. But the bigger one is going to be, what are they going to do with your pay, and do they allow you to work remote? Because then you don't know what other things go into it, like what kind of restrictions may be on that particular type of work. If it's like, say, insurance or something like that, they may have restrictions on, what kind of policies you're able to write, whatever that kind of thing is, right? So there's a lot of stuff that goes into this when it comes to that. So what do we do with this? We're just understanding so that we don't set ourselves up to have a real hard time. Now, if you work for a company that you're able to replicate and do your own thing and become a contractor, well, you have to understand you're still subject to another person. You're still, the company can still just cut contracts out and contractors. It's all about fortifying your future. So what are your directions and your options in the event that something comes up and it changes on you? You don't have to have action into this, but you do want to do enough research to understand if this happens, just like turning a switch, and you go from this to that, how much do you have to finance yourself in the interim of the shift? We're looking at that financial maturity aspect again. We're just making sure that you're going to reduce the likelihood of hardship. You're building patterns and habits that are associated with other aspects of your life that will be helpful for you long term, because this is not just for finance when you look at things this way, but it's incredibly beneficial for finance. This gets into business. What about business? How can you make it work for you? What kind of business could you run for yourself? This is working for somebody else. It's finance plus business, but you're working for somebody. So the business maturity is not, it's more focused on being a really good employee and try to reduce the likelihood that you are let go in the event of a company restructure. Most of us don't even want to look at that. We think we're pretty secure because we haven't seen anything in the past. So why would we plan for that in the future? Well, I can tell you, you need to plan for it. And a lot of this is you just think your way through it, but then you put a contingency plan together. Now you have your opportunity to maintain living in paradise, because we can start fortifying that. You've got an idea. What it is the same thing. I worked for nuclear power plants in my life. I've worked for a lot of places that use different types of procedures. Fire brigade, they do dry runs. There's not a fire, but they sound the alarm, and no matter what it is you're doing, you've got to report to, the dress out. You got to get into your firefighting gear, and then you have to be ready with your specific role to respond to the fire wherever they tell you it's at. And then you go do everything, and you got a time to get there. It's running contingencies. It's running it to make sure that in the event that the real thing happens, you can do something about it. You're going to be so well trained, you're not going to be tripping over each other. The only element that would be present that is not present during practice is the excitation of the actual thing. a big fire raging, or you see that a fire is starting to rage, that kind of stuff can hit you emotionally. You're not prepared for it, but you have done a lot. So it's not, that may be one of the only things that's in your way of doing a highly efficient and proficient job fighting a fire. It's running those contingencies so that you are familiar with it. Do the same thing with the business ideas, with your finance directions. If this happens, what company could you go to, or what position in the current company could you transition to if there's no change in the structure of the company? Diversify your options. Verify that you have definite opportunity to maintain your preferred living style, your living expectations. It will help. It absolutely will help. But you have to know, like, you just have to be aware of it. And then you just set up times to run that. When you're running a contingency for a job change, it's just make sure that your contacts are still good. Reach out if you need to finesse a contact, or just update somebody or whatever. Like, hey, how you doing? Hey, just wanted to check in with you, see how everything's coming along. This is where I'm at. This is still the contingency if something were to occur. Most people are actually going to look at that kind of conversation as being highly mature. So you're going to think, this person really has their stuff together, man. Who knows? They may be setting out for their own business venture, and they're looking for the right people that will help make them successful, and they can make successful with them. You don't know exactly what's going to come out of that type of approach. But nonetheless, it's still beneficial for you that you're making sure you're keeping those relationships and contacts alive, nurtured, so that if something does happen, and you can set it on the calendar, 90 days, 6 months, whatever, just make sure you're touching base with somebody. I would say try not to go over 6 months at a time, because you just know there's a lot of things that can change in 6 months. People get sick, people change jobs, industries do get affected to some degree. It may not be a major change, but still something happens. So there's always something that comes along that you can be updated on and be prepared for, instead of being surprised by. Is what if that particular part of your contingency in the sense of your job change happens, and then you go to exercise this contact, and you've been a year since you talked to them. So that contact might be no longer available to you, or their ability to support you with what you need, that might be the linchpin that everything falls apart with. Pull it out and it all comes to pieces because you haven't kept up with it. You don't need to make this a significant thing. It's the harder work is on the front end as you really delve into it. Then you put it on a maintenance schedule. Every 90 days to 6 months. Hey, how you doing? How things coming along? This is where I'm at. I'm still, this is still my contingency. And you just keep that plan in action. Keep it moving. So, yeah, it's not a bad practice. But again, my whole point of this video is that, look, we need to start, if you really want to make your future something that is more like the heaven that you really want to live in, we really do need to start putting effort in like this. This will take us there. It's just a matter of put the practice in. You start finding out what you have thought was a good idea, what you thought would be successful, what you really were interested in doing. You may find out it's not what you want, because you start putting enough life into it that it actually, you break through the veil of the dream, the daydream of it, and then the reality sets in. A lot of people are a victim of this issue, where they've got an idea about what they want to accomplish. They fantasize about it on a regular basis. But then whenever the actual opportunity shows up, they realize it wasn't what they wanted. They take action into it, they go after it, and then they're like, oh, this actually kind of sucks. A great friend of mine was a client. He went through law school. That's not easy. And he went through a very, very high-ranked law school here in the state of Florida. And he was in the higher end of his class when he graduated, too. Got into the work. He said he was a year in, and he turned over, he contacted the bar and told them, I'm not interested in this anymore. Come get your files. I'm done. And he actually did his entire career as a paralegal instead of an attorney, because he just didn't want to do it. But he did not know up until that point that was actually what was going to happen. And that's not cheap. You don't become an attorney, without putting a lot of money into it, unless you got like grants or some other sort of support. But that takes a lot of money to become an attorney, and that's a lot of study, a lot of dedication. And you just change your mind. I know a lot of people that do that through college. They get into it, they like something a lot, then they find out it's either doesn't have any place in the economy or has very small opportunities in the economy with little pay, because that's what happens when you have too much of something available. So the basics of the economics is that, abundance reduces the value. So you've got a shit ton of people with a specific degree. Yeah, they don't have to pay as much because there's more people they could hire and more people they can work the pay rate down on. If you have a high level degree or you have just a degree in something, but there are very few people in the market, but the market is asking for its high demand, basic simplicity, right? They're going to pay more for that position. So anyway, it's beneficial to get into these things before you actually commit to the long term on that. So you get started on this and say, hey, I'd like to be this. Okay, great. What can we do right now to start vetting the reality of whether or not that's something that you really want to be? If you want to, again, with the attorney analogy, well, you can contact one of the local attorneys and find out if you can work for them. If there's a position available that you could work, reception, answering phone calls, marketing, whatever it is that they may have room for you at a lower end, but it gets you in the environment so you can start experiencing what it's like to work for these companies or be in that industry. You could volunteer, you can, which that happens to is interning, right? There's all kinds of things that you can do in order to put yourself into the environment. But volunteering or offering to work for free is a pretty consistent for a lot of companies. They're like, really? All right, well, free labor. I just have to deal with training you a bit to do these particular jobs. But you are in the environment. At that point, you can start getting a better insight on what you want to do. I am in the fitness industry. I'm one of the experts of that industry in my own way. I do a lot in, putting more and more stuff out there to help with that level of authority. But I can tell you also my time dealing with people in the fitness industry is most of them really look at it as just a fun, easy job. Unfortunately, the majority of people that go in with that mindset come out with a pretty bad experience. They come out with there's no money in it, or they come out with, it just didn't work for me. There's a lot of things that they really tell themselves about it. I'm not saying that it's right or wrong. They very well may not have the skill sets for that, and likely don't, especially at the entry level. Most of them don't have the skills necessary yet, but you build them up to have those skills if you're the employer. Because that's my side. What I actually do now is focus more on the employer, develop the team, staff. But with this is, for the person getting into it, you can volunteer all over the place. But when you get into the fitness industry, there's a lot of people like, man, this is just an easy job, man. It's like sitting at the front desk just talking to people. I get paid. Awesome. Nope. There's a business to it. There is a lot of actions that are necessary in order to be successful. But all you're doing is you're making something real when you get into it. A lot of these things, you don't have enough, you're not close enough to it. That's why you put together contingencies in the event that something were to change. What do you want to do? If you've got a living cost where on a regular basis for the entire year it may cost you, $50,000 to exist. Well, if you want to go from something where you're making $100,000+ a year, but you're not so happy, so you spend a pretty decent amount of money spending money to forget that you're not happy because you're not necessarily enjoying what you're doing. Well, yeah, you're going to have some challenges that'll come up when you want to change into a job that is completely out of that industry, that you have little experience with, but you daydreamed and fantasized about it being more fun or something, more desirable or something about it along the way. So, how many people actually do that to themselves? It's interesting. I mean, I've done it too, where I'm like, I just don't want to do this anymore. I worked in the power industry for 10 years and decided that that was not the direction I wanted to spend my life. So I went out and, I got into fitness actually. I left from the power industry making, it was well over $100,000 a year, and went into a commission only paid per session at commission only. And there was a heavy split, because I didn't know any better, and I went right into it. I paid my tuition, if you will, with the hardships and the challenges of working for little money, with the debt that I accumulated based off of the agreements that I entered while I was working for the power company. It's not easy to replace, $50,000 a year on living costs with a commission only, no network to be successful. You're getting in brand new to this industry, and the reality is, hell, the first year that I worked in the fitness industry, I made less than $20,000 that first year. Oh, because there's a lot of stuff to learn, and there's, setting a reputation. There's a lot of things that just go into it before you're actually successful. So, mind you, with that first year, that's half of that. So I made about 40, but 50% of that went to the owner of the company I worked with. So, it's making those transitions can be a really heavy hit because you have the real life costs associated with it. If you have a car payment, that's got to be covered. Your rent or your mortgage, that's got to be covered. Groceries, gas, utilities, just leisure. If you're going to do anything, which typically in the first year, there's very little leisure that goes into a new business venture. Most of the time, you just have to focus just on that. With very little personal time to just relax and enjoy yourself. That's typical for the way it works. But anyway, all right. So with all of that being said, let me do this, because this thing is falling around. Okay. So you don't have to wait to start living. You're living now. We can immediately start working on what will have us live out loud or live in a way that we feel that we're really alive, right? You feel your pulse. By the way, feeling your pulse, don't expect it to always be the fun that's associated with the roller coaster, right? It's going to have a lot in it. It's going to have the fact that your pulse is active because you're stressed. There's going to be, I'm not happy. There's going to be, there's so many things that come up in the window of time that you are involved in anything that is going to be less than desirable. But your pulse is still there. Value by contrast. What sucks today can give you the things you love tomorrow, and often does. So just keep that in mind. This is, it's not all about feeling good all the time. It's not all about like a lot of the crap that people do. It's like the real experience of it is the stuff that people don't typically listen to. It's the what's in the middle, really. It's the horribly hard times, and then there's the really great times. But that middle stuff, nobody really talks about. And that middle stuff has a little bit of everything in it. It's just not so exciting on the high end that you're really, really excited all the time, but you're feeling pretty good. You get those little bumps along the way. And then the other side, it's not that it's completely horrible, but you got the drudge of getting through challenges, but it's not the holy shit, my world's falling apart. It's just, you've got stuff in the middle. And those are the things that I think typically are what distracts us from what it's like to really live into your passion, to really live into living life passionately. You don't want to pursue your passion to make a living, not by itself. You need to have a place with your passion for the economy, because it doesn't matter if you love doing it, you'll never work another day of your life. Yeah, you will. If you can't pay your bills, it does not matter how much you love doing what you do. You are going to start stressing it, and it's going to start grinding out the pleasure of it, the passion of it. It's Charles Brzezinski, I believe, or Bukowski. I think it's Bukowski, actually. Said, find what you love and let it kill you. Well, that's what I'm talking about, is that if you just do what you're passionate about, you can really run into some hard times. Because you need to be able to have the workability, and it needs to fit the economy, and you need to make it work. That's another beautiful thing about our country, the United States, is that we can make things work that most people will be like, how the hell did you do that? There's companies out there that they sell sex toys at, they call them pleasure parties, where, the majority of it's like women that'll invite other women in, and then they sit around, they talk about these different sex toys, and then they sell them to each other. Think about that business model. Really, who came up with it first and foremost, because that is such a low cost on the originator, and it's more of a conversation with other people to enroll them into selling products, that the originator set up an agreement with a manufacturer or a distributor to get these products available. And then they're like, here, go talk to other women about this stuff. And then they empowered them to feel like their own business owners, and they give them some business experience, but they're not taught enough to do anything really on their own unless they figure it out along the way. But they're given enough to be functional for the original company, for the people that started the whole thing. There are companies like that all over the place. That's really out of just pleasure and turned into a business model. So, it's things like that. Just don't think those things aren't available. They are all over the damn place. It's just figuring out how to take what you're passionate about and make it into something economic, something that works for the economy. People are going to want to have a part of it, and they're going to have to pay to get into it. That's the kind of thing that you want when you look at a business model. The better the business model is, the more likely it is to pick up and other people see the benefits of it and want to share that with other people, which creates a marketing direction that you may not even have to pay for. A viral marketing direction is a conversation worth sharing that you're not incentivized to share outside of the desire to share it, the excitement of sharing it, the benefit, and the how much it can help somebody else for sharing it with them. There's a lot of things like that there's no money there, really. I mean, there's money to be made, but there's not to be spent to get that. It's just, you just have to know how to have those conversations. So keep that in mind as you come up with what you want to do with your life, and especially whenever it comes to what you want to do that has your passion involved. So, all right, till next time, let's start some stuff here. Let's get some people involved in a way that you can really start making some change for yourself. A conversation of meaning. A lot of people have their kids, they don't know what they want to do with their life. This is a good video to share with people, these young adults, 18 and up, preferably, because it's the ones that I really prefer to talk to right now. Below that, I'm not trying to change my language too much at the moment. But I still support under 18 when it comes to the maturity development and all of that. It's just a matter of what kind of products and education do you give those people. So, but share this conversation with people in your life that you really want to make a difference with, an impactful, meaningful conversation. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video, help with the algorithm. Put your comments in the comment section. Let's work on that community piece of it. Help inspire other people what you're getting and get them to see what you're getting so that they themselves can start to be inspired by. If not, then share their own, and you can really get that movement going as well. So, all right, until next time, I'm your host, Chad Everett Broshears. This is the Maturity Project. Keep in mind, the path to hell is paved with good intentions. Let's not make any more paths there. All right, we got to mature ourselves so that we can realize the folly of our ways as well. All right, till next time, we'll catch y'all on the productive side. All right, see ya.